Welcome to EVTN News, your source for Catholic news, and we identify as the #1 news program on the internet. Now, I did mention in a previous video about Vigano's reaction to the Pope's motu proprio and the restrictions, and I have a link in the description below. I already talked about that though in a previous video, so check it out and see what you think. And this program is called EVTN News because we cover Vigano's statements, and so that's why this is in the description. Moving on, the Archdiocese of Cincinnati refuses to sponsor a men's conference because Raymond Arroyo is speaking there. Yeah, we're going that crazy. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati will not sponsor the 2022 Cincinnati Catholic Men's Conference at which Raymond Arroyo is to speak. That's a quote. The reason is due to the reason from the Archdiocese is, quote, is our opposition to attempts by either the right or the left to divide the Catholic Church by political position. Okay. Why is the screen so foggy today? That's weird. Let me see. Is that better? Alright, there we go. Alright. Anyway, Raymond Arroyo, he's like Novus Ordo conservative. He's not even controversial. Like, I don't get this. Alright. Archdiocese of Cincinnati, what are you doing? Like, are you standing with Pope Francis? We'll get to that in a minute. An FSSP, Father Daniel Nolan, an FSSP priest at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Littleton, Colorado, said Christ is the source of reality, and anyone who departs from that is going to end up in delusion. He says if Christ is behind something, you're going to see that, but Satan being the prince of darkness and the father of lies, you're going to notice that as well. If you start to see a bunch of lies, you can probably be certain Satan's behind it. He said that the virus is a serious disease and should be taken as such, but the political response has been completely unwarranted and unjustified by the level of danger this virus possesses. He said, I encourage you actually not to get the jab. But don't feel pressure. That's the important thing. Do not be bullied or pressured or guilted into something you really feel that is not true. So thank you, Father Nolan, for speaking up. But did you know that radical change is coming to the church? According to Archbishop Dermot Farrell of Dublin, Ireland, he's said that quote exactly. Radical change is coming to the church. He said, with a powerful commitment from clergy and lay faithful across the full range of the life and ministry of parish communities, we are going to experience a renewal of energy and the adoption of new forms of outreach and ministry. Pope Francis is offering us a way of being church, the synodal pathway of walking together more closely and being a church that is hope-filled despite many challenges. Okay, so radical change is coming to the church. Well, guess what, Archbishop Farrell? Radical change is coming to the church, but it's not a change you're going to like. All right. Montreal Catholics celebrated the Holy Mass outside of Marie Rene Cathedral due to legalistic virus measures. Father Emmanuel Zanito has been posting pictures of the open-air masses celebrated in a tent since December 26th. Zanito explains that it was the faithful who motivated him to continue his mission. Presently, temperatures in Montreal are around minus 15 Celsius, which is 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Good job to this priest defying the government and trying to offer the Mass to the faithful. I mean, that's really important, right? Whenever these communist governments try to shut down Mass, then the governments are clearly evil. Like, there's nothing that would suggest that they have anything to do with the Catholic faith. In fact, they directly oppose it if they're shutting down public Mass. And as a result, these priests are doing what they can, at least this one. So good for him. Find a good priest like that. Traditional Benedictines released a statement against the restrictions. These are the Benedictine monks of the Immaculate of the monastery of St. Catherine of Siena in Tagia, Italy. It's near the French border. So you can read the full statement, but I'm going to read some quotes. He said, "We have promised to be faithful to our constitutions, which have been approved by the Holy See, and under which we have taken the sacred vows of religion. In particular, as stated in the prologue of said constitutions, we have committed ourselves before God and the Church to always keep as our proper right, both outside and inside the monastery, the liturgy of the Mass celebrated according to the more than 1,000-year-old form of the Holy Roman Church, which was never abrogated, not approprius morum pontificum, with its Latin language and Gregorian chant. This solemn commitment includes the use of the ancient Roman ritual and pontifical, as evidenced by the ordination ceremonies performed since our foundation. We do all this out of fidelity to the canons of the rite definitively fixed at the Council of Trent, which provided an insurmountable barrier to any heresy directed against the integrity of the mystery of the Mass." As Archbishop Antonio Sueta publicly stated on television on August 24, 2021, "We are the guardians and witnesses of the most ancient tradition of the Church. It is thus, and not otherwise, that we will remain faithful whatever the cost." Whatever the cost. Through the intercession of Immaculate Blessed Virgin Mary, may the Supreme Pontiff be enlightened in his function as Vicar of Christ, so that the Catholic faith and its purity and the traditional liturgy that guarantees it may once again shine before the eyes of the world and for salvation of souls, and that all the assaults of error and corruption against the Holy Church may be defeated. That's pretty good. I like that. I don't know if they have a donation page on their monastery or on their monastery website, but certainly worth checking out. It seems that they will remain faithful to the ancient liturgy of the Church, whatever the cost. That means I'll take excommunication if it comes to that. There you go. We need faithful leaders like that in the Church. Moving on to Bishop Strickland. And, I think a lot of people are watching what Strickland's going to do because he's known as one of the Catholic bishops in the United States, one of the few that actually promote the Catholic faith. On December 30th, Strickland tweeted a quote from Pope Pius XII, warning against the alteration of the traditional liturgy and the theology of the Catholic Church. Pope Pius XII said, "I am worried by the Blessed Virgin's messages to Lucy of Fatima. This persistence of Mary about the dangers which menace the Church is a divine warning against the suicide of altering the faith in her liturgy, her theology, and her soul. I hear all around me innovators who wish to dismantle the sacred chapel, destroy the universal flame of the true faith of the Church, reject her ornaments, and make her feel remorse for her historical past." Bishop Strickland said, "Pray for Pope Francis to resist these same forces that his predecessor fought 70 plus years ago. Come, Lord Jesus, fill the hearts of your faithful and renew the face of the earth." Okay, so this... I don't know if this indicates that Bishop Strickland's going to take a stand, but he certainly opposes the disaster that's going on in the Vatican right now. I mean, he said he wasn't taking the jab, and the Vatican's heavily promoting it. And so, what else? What other indications can you think from Bishop Strickland? And quite honestly, like I said, I'd really like to meet him sometime. I'd like to talk to him and encourage him to be a leader, because Archbishop Lefebvre, along with Bishop Castro Meyer, they consecrated the bishops for the SSPX, and right now we need priests who are going to stand up to the Pope whenever he's preaching stuff contradictory to the faith. That's just how it works. And so Bishop Strickland, he's got an eye on what's going on here. Now, what is the message of Fatima? What is the third secret? I don't know. Some people think that it's in reference to destroying the liturgy. It certainly makes a lot of sense based on what happened in terms of the message of Fatima. It was kind of buried under the Vatican II popes until John Paul II. There was an assassination attempt on his life, and he kind of he heavily promoted devotion of Fatima so that it became widespread in the Church. So, who really knows what the third secret is? Okay. Pope Francis has given the green light. He gave the green light between 2019 and 2020 to surveillance methods that are incompatible with international law. The investigation of financial crimes was used as a pretext If such spying methods are available, they can be used against everybody in the Vatican. TV Svizzera.it, that's an Italian website, on January 3rd, quotes from one of the 4 rescripts signed by Francis. It says that technological instruments suitable for intercepting fixed and mobile telephone calls, as well as other communications, including electronic ones, may be used. So Pope Francis is basically instituted the very low budget NSA version of the NSA. So let's get Edward Snowden to the Vatican and see what he thinks about it. All right. And we're going to move to the next conclave. One that everyone is certainly looking forward to. Well, I don't know if everyone is, but one that most of us are certainly hopeful for very soon. Sandro Magister, on his blog Settimo Cielo of October 12th, sees the influence of the community of Sant Edigio weighing heavily on the election of Pope Francis' successor. The candidate of this progressive community, a zealous organizer of the interfaith meeting in Assisi, October 27, 1986, and those that followed, is Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, Archbishop of Bologna. So he's a favorite for Pope, according to the Italians. And I believe when Brett was on here talking about papal candidates, Zuppi came up. His name came up, and it seems like he's becoming a favorite for Pope. But who knows? A lot of things can happen. Okay, Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich. He had a quote to say here. He said, during this phase when the pandemic resurfaces, we must save lives, and the Green Pass should serve to welcome people to Mass. His Eminence told the veteran British Catholic publication The Tablet. Since Christmas, there has been a law in Luxembourg that only allows jabbed people to participate in liturgies, except in the case of ceremonies of less than 20 faithful. Some priests have objected, but that does not help in search for a solution. So Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich is a fan of jab passports for Mass. Rotten. Completely rotten. Oh, by the way, he's a Jesuit. Claims that the future Pope Benedict XVI covered up an abuse case in the German Archdiocese of Munich, and Freising resurfaced this week, more than 10 years after the Vatican firmly rejected the allegations. Claims reemerged in the German media on January 4th when Die Zenit newspaper published an extensive report on the Archdiocese's handling of the case of Father Peter Hollermann, who is accused of abusing at least 23 boys aged 8 to 16 between 1973 and 1996. CNA Deutsch, CNA's German language news partner, reported that Die Zenit also published an interview on January 4th with 2 canon lawyers who accused Cardinal Marx, Munich Archbishop since 2008, of mishandling the Hollermann case. Marx's resignation was declined by Pope Francis last year. So I don't know what the connections here are. You could draw a lot of different thoughts from this, and I don't know. I mean, Benedict's former archdiocese, Cardinal Marx is a favorite of Pope Francis. Yeah. Anyway, here's a quote from Pope Francis. Let me know what you think. Yeah. Have we been stuck all too long, nestled inside a conventional, external, and formal religiosity that no longer warms our heart and changes our lives? Do our words and our liturgies ignite in people's hearts a desire to move towards God? Or are they a dead language that speaks only of itself and to itself? This is ridiculous. I mean, come on. If anyone... I don't even know what to say anymore. Talking about self-referential synod on synods, he said the task is to journey together to listen to one another so that the Spirit can suggest to us new ways and paths to bring the gospel to the hearts of those who are indifferent, distant, and without hope. So I think that should suggest where he's going with the synod on synodality. Many people believe it's predetermined. The outcome is predetermined in the Vatican. And I think that's probably a good idea. Probably a good assertion. All right, there's a Dutch bishop, Bishop Rob Mustertz, auxiliary bishop of the Diocese of Herto, Hertog, sorry, Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. I always butcher these names, but this one's so hard. Like, make it hard for me to read. Okay, he said, Bishop Mustarts said, the Pope of Mercy shows little mercy for those who embrace the traditional Latin Mass. The loss of confidence not only affects the traditionalists themselves, but also increases the uncertainty of the faithful. If what was recommended yesterday no longer applies today, nothing is certain. What this means for the Fraternity of St. Peter, for example, is unclear. The curious consequence of our papal injunction is that communities associated with Rome that celebrate the ancient Mass would no longer be allowed to administer the sacrament of confession, but the faithful can still validly receive it from the Society of St. Pius X. The same applies to the sacrament of marriage. And why does one have to explicitly endorse the documents of Vatican II in order to be allowed to celebrate the ancient Mass in exceptional cases? Surely those who celebrate the Novus Ordo, I am one of them, are not being asked to accept the Council of Trent. Or has everything from before Vatican II been scrapped? If the Vatican requires an examination for celebrants of the Old Mass, then in fairness it should also be required for freelance celebrants of the New Mass, who are all doing their own thing. In short, that promises something for the coming year. My motto is just stay Catholic. We go by the natural law, by the order of creation, by common sense. It's nice to see a bishop speak up and question these ridiculous restrictions, and that's what they are, ridiculous, and that's what these bishops are saying. Okay. Cardinal Cupich was booed at the March for Life. Taylor Marshall had a big, long video on this. An otherwise peaceful March for Life event, this is from Catholic News Agency, in Chicago on Saturday turned contentious when some of the crowd booed and heckled Cardinal Cupich during his speech at a rally at Federal Plaza. Approximately 1 minute into his speech, Cardinal Cupich, who wore one of these things at the outdoor rally, elicited a ripple of boos when he shared words of support for those he saw in the crowd wearing. And he was actually wearing. Yeah, I mean, how ridiculous is it when you cover your face in an outdoor rally? I mean, it's outdoors. I don't know. I guess if it's cold, I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Obviously, his was more politically motivated. He said, as you know, we come here in these days of the pandemic when life is threatened. I'm so glad I can see you, many of you wearing these things. I hope that you continue to look for ways in which we can end this pandemic by promoting life. It's really important to do that. So that has nothing to do with covering your face, promoting life. But to Cardinal Cupich and the rest of the Francis Church, it certainly does. Now, hearing boos and shouting from some in the crowd, Cupich then added, now I know you people, there are some in the crowd here who don't respect the unborn, and that's too bad. Is it true that they don't respect the unborn, or is it true that they respect the unborn? Because by booing Cupich, it appears to me that they respect the unborn, as Cupich has, in many different ways, indicated his support against the unborn. He discouraged his priest, and I forget which diocese this is. I was corrected. I don't know if it was in one of the Dakotas. I don't know if he was a bishop there. In one of his previous stops before Chicago, he banned his priests from praying outside of abortion clinics for 40 days for life. There's Cardinal Cupich. Does that make him pro-life? What about promoting Cardinal Bernardine and seamless garment? Does that make him pro-life? Okay. So I think everyone, everyone that's watching this video understands the stance of Cupich and where he stands on things. Finally, Bishop Schneider calls for Pope Francis to rescind Traditionalist Custodes. So he released a statement. You can read it in the link below. And I'm just going to read a clip. He said, may Pope Francis realize that he has been ill-advised, and may he demonstrate pastoral courage, humility, and true love for these marginalized sons and daughters of the Church by rescinding the canonical provisions stipulated in the two aforementioned documents. In doing so, he will most certainly be bandaging wounds and healing broken hearts with the balm of God. The quote was taken from the address or the opening of the synod. So, using the language of accompaniment, are the trads being accompanied? No, they are not. And in fact, based on my information that I've heard, I don't know how reliable the source this is, but I've heard a bishop has said to people that the Vatican is releasing a crackdown against Ecclesia Dei communities on Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of March. The Ecclesia Dei communities include the FSSP and the Institute of Christ the King. Is this going to happen? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the reliability of the accuracy of the source. But I do want to I did want to let you know, because I felt like the source was accurate enough to, pass the information along to you. Thank you everyone for joining me on the live stream. Okay, so some people don't really like Cupich, and that's an interesting thing. Now, what day are we at? January 10th. This means we just have a few weeks before the Institute of Christ the King can make their stand. Are they going to say the Old Mass on the first Sunday of the month of February, or are they going to say the Novus Ordo? It's going to be an interesting situation there. And standing up to Cupich, it's going to be interesting. Now, what I think is going to happen, because people said that, the Institute might resist. People said, I don't know. And what I think is going to happen is Cupich is going to give them an exemption so that they can say the Latin Mass on the first Sundays. I actually think that's going to happen, because you can apply for an exemption, and the Institute certainly has. The Institute and the FSSP are digging in. They're playing the long game, and they're going to let someone else force their hand. And so that's what I think is going to happen. If that doesn't happen, then I'm wrong, right? I hope they stand up. I hope they make a strong stand. I hope Cupich actually denies them the exemption where they can say the Latin Mass on Sundays, on first Sundays. I hope he denies it to them, because then it's going to force them to stand up for the Catholic faith. And then what are they going to do? Now, RR says, have you heard what they are going to do to Ecclesia Dei and what will happen if they disobey? One already said they would. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know enough about the inner workings of these places. There are certainly people in the Institute. There are certainly priests in the Institute and the FSSP who are willing to resist. But how will that happen? You see, during the shutdowns of Mass, let's go back a year and a half plus, almost 2 years now, the SSPX kept a lot of their churches open. Some of them didn't. Now, the Traditionalists, they didn't keep their churches open. But they had their private masses. That's the big thing. And they might have invited a lot of people. You didn't hear about it because it was private. So they were still doing their thing behind the scenes, though. And that's, I don't know, that's maybe what they're expecting to do here. And right now, the Institute and the FSSP have basically said, well, doesn't matter, nothing applies, none of this applies to us. Well, does it? Does it not? Ordinations, when do the FSSP and Institute schedule their ordinations? Because whenever that happens, whenever the ordinations come up, are there seminarians, deacons, are seminarians and deacons going to be ordained in the old rite? And if say it's a spring, I don't even know if it's a spring. I don't know. But say it is, and say some seminarians are going to be ordained deacon for the FSSP, as we approach, or as they approach their ordination, wouldn't it be helpful to know if it's going to be in the old rite? I mean, so you can see where this is going, and wouldn't it be helpful to know that there's going to be a bishop who's going to ordain them? Because how many bishops are going to resist? Will they have to ship in a bishop from overseas? I don't know. Just a lot of questions. I don't have any answers. All these questions are going to be answered pretty soon, in the next few months. And if this crackdown does come, now I originally heard it was in February, so it could happen in February. I don't know. And I think that was from, I don't want to be 100% here, but I think it might have been from Arate Cheli, who said that in February there would be a crackdown on the Ecclesia Dei communities, but I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But I've been hearing February, and then now I've been hearing Ash Wednesday. So I don't know. I think it's coming. I think the crackdown on these places are coming, and I don't know what it's going to be. Is it going to ban them from saying is it going to ban them from administering the traditional sacraments? Maybe. Certain ones, I don't know. Can they still baptize babies in the old rite? Will they still be permitted to do that? I don't know. Yeah, in traditional ordinations, the oath against modernism is a big thing. But there's a lot of parents that are concerned as well because they have children who are coming up to confirmation age, and how are they going to get them confirmed? Is it going to be in the old rite? Is it going to be in the new rite? If it's going to be in the new rite, why would they go to an FSSP parish for it? That's a good question. So lots of questions, not a lot of answers, but we'll find out, and you can continue watching EVTN to bring you the best news. Thank you so much for watching. This has been EVTN News. We are the laity. We will not be silent.